The first is yesterday over at Talking Points Memo. Josh Marshall wrote a piece about the murder of Walter Scott and the whole and much of the issues around police culture. And in that article, he had a link to a website called PBSO, as in Palm Beach Sheriff's Officer, talk.com. And it's a website for cops in Palm Beach, Florida, police officers to be talking with each other. And it pointed to a specific thread titled Tricks of the Trade, Let's Exchange. And I thought I'd just read you a few of these posts from these Palm Beach Sheriff's Office officers or whoever it is who's posting. The first one, it says, this is what's opened this thread, Tricks of the Trade, Let's Exchange. I was lucky to get a really good FTO when I started almost 15 years ago. I'm assuming that's something training officer. I have a method for getting people off the street that should not be there. Mouthy drivers, street lawyers, a-holes, and just about anyone else trying to make my job difficult. Under my floor mat, I keep a small plastic dime baggie with cocaine in residue. Since it's just residue, if it's ever found during a search of my patrol car, like during an inspection, it's always easy enough to explain. I must have stuck to my foot while I was walking through Sandcastle. I assume Sandcastle is the police station or the evidence room or something. Anyways, no one's going to question an empty baggie. The residue is the key because you can fully charge some, I'll just say ass without the rest of it, with possession of cocaine, heroin, or whatever, just with the residue. How to get it done? I asked Mr. Doe for his identification. He pulls out his wallet. I observed a small plastic baggie fall out of his pocket. This part is in quotes, so that's what you tell the court. You get the idea. Easy, right? Best part is those baggies can be found in lots of places, so you can always be ready. Don't forget to wipe the baggie on the person's skin after you arrest them because you want their DNA on the bags. So if they say that you planted it or if they fight you. This is one of my favorite tools. I don't use it often. To do something, excuse me, when I have to do something to remove someone, this is a good way to do it with minimal effort. And somebody else posted, you should quit and you should be arrested. Too bad your moral compass is so broken. This job is easy to do if you do it correctly. Good. And then the guy replies saying, you would think differently if you were a law enforcement officer. He's assuming a civilian posted that. He says, we have to make use of every tool we have. Many deputies do it. Hell, Drummond got caught lying blatantly in a search warrant. Must be one of the police officers at Palm Beach in court. And he got a fat attaboy from our sheriff. And then the guy who called him out says, what do you mean if I was a law enforcement officer? LEO. I am. And with more time than you, and I have never lied on any official document or affidavit to arrest anyone. You excrements are disgusting and not representative of good deputies or police officers. The truth is I find your conduct to be galling and criminal, and I really wish you were caught pulling this stunt because I would happily arrest you and testify against you. So this is, a bit of a debate. And then, a couple of cops jump in and say, so tell me, what are you going to do about it? That's right, nothing. You'll just sit there with your mouth shut because you don't want to upset the brass or else you can go find a new job. You're all talk, all bark and no bite. You don't stand for crap. You talk big and bad, but we all know it's mental masturbation because you ain't blank word. Okay, so then they go on from this. There's a long conversation about how you plant drugs on people. And then they, and in fact, toward the end, it says, works the same way as me always keeping 2 grams of marijuana with me at all times. When the time comes and I have to sprinkle it on somebody to have an arrestable reason, I just take the marijuana, sprinkle it all over the car, and thus have PC, I'm not sure what that means, and all that fun stuff. Oh, and the driver goes to jail for possession. Another guy replies, and this is where it gets really interesting. He says, that marijuana is so rookie. I used to use that myself. But how do you explain it to a supervisor if he sees it in your car? It's a sure way to end up in a jam. I do what the OP suggested, the original poster. In other words, the bag with residue. He says, also, I learned long ago not to carry a real throwdown. Now, throwdown is a gun that's been used in a crime someplace, or just, a gun that is not an official gun. It's not a legal gun. And when you arrest somebody, you drop it next to them and say, see, he had a use it on me, that's why I had to shoot him, or that's why I had to arrest him. So back to this. He says, I learned long ago not to carry a real throwdown because if it's found for having an unauthorized weapon, better to keep an airsoft in the trunk. Now, an airsoft is a pistol that shoots BBs or pellets. It's basically an air gun. It's a pellet gun that looks like a real gun. Okay, that's what an airsoft is. And in fact, there was a case of a guy being shot with an airsoft just a few months ago. He says, better to keep an airsoft in the trunk. Won't raise any flags and is fully explainable if you get into a bad shoot. Bad shoot. Bad shoot being cop talk apparently for you killed somebody. Maybe inappropriately, or. He says, after all, how were you supposed to know it was an airsoft when the suspect you shot was waving it around, threatening your life? You were in fear and couldn't take that chance. Another guy replies, ever want to get a suspect to make spontaneous utterances? It's easy to do, especially in the summer. Now, keep in mind, this is a Florida police department. Just put him in the back with a heater on and tell him you'll be doing your paperwork outside until he has something to tell you. Turn it too high and let his ass bake. 15 minutes, he'll be ratting out his own mama. I had only one guy too stupid to talk. I sprayed some OC in the back. I'm guessing that's, pepper spray or, one of the sprays. I sprayed some OC in the back to make it real hot, and he finally told me what I wanted to know. I learned that from my FTO. He had all the game. Then another guy says, in response to that, this one is great. Usually I just look at his pics on his phone to see if he has dick pics, and then I threaten to post them on his Facebook. Or I look for text messages I know are drug dealers, and I send messages from his phone saying he's now an informant. One day, this little white piece of blank wannabe gangster was so smack, I car and drove him to Sandcastle, where a bunch of serious gangster-looking N-words were there. He spells it out, of course. I kicked him out of the car and told the N-words he was getting too rowdy at a white supremacist meeting. Then I drove off and saw him running for his life in my rear view. We got called back like a half hour later, and he was taken to Bethesda with broken jaw. He wasn't talking blank word after that. Another one. I have a special one reserved for the heads. After their arrest, put some dope in their pocket, let the jailer find it. Booyah! Charged with introduction of contraband, bitches. Minimum mandatory for that one. And then the conversation continues from there, page after page after page. What's the best way to? And then it got posted. This thread, which started on February 16th. This is now April, right? Are we in April? Yeah. This thread got started about 2 months ago. Then it got posted yesterday. TPM and a few other websites, put a link to this. And so this guy posts in the thread, to the person who gave the interview to the liberal blog, you stupid, smug, arrogant bastard, you have no idea what you have done, do you? It's beyond me that in 2015, you still think you can be completely anonymous. And then another guy says, you made us famous, you rat blanking bastard. If we ever catch who you are, we are going to take a long time getting calls where 94. Now, I'm assuming 94 is a police officer needing assistance from other officers. You might even get injured by a suspect you never see. Who knows what will happen to you, you rat blank. And so they're a little upset that this kind of went public. Okay, number one. How do we address issues of culture within our police departments?